Welcome back to an all-new Sam Explains the World. I'm your host, Samantha Bremekamp, and I don't know about you, but I am super over winter already. Thanks so much, Snope. Thanks. And to get through the winter depression, as I am not a winter person, my tried and true, trusted favorite passion of gardening takes a huge role. This year I'm going to try something a little different with seed starting inside that you can easily do. I'm going to try this thing that I saw on the internet, utilizing little baggies, some seed starting soil, some skewers that you might have in the garden or for barbecuing or, building forts. I don't know your life. And a super cheap, easy container on wheels that's clear that I'm going to put outside. I know you're thinking, boy, it's so cold. What are you thinking? We don't have enough time in this episode for me to answer that, but there are some things that do really well starting out in cold weather, seeds specifically. That's what we're going to focus on today, and we're going to take this journey together and see how it works out. If you've seen my previous gardening episodes, you know that my favorite method of starting seeds is with baggies, paper towels, and a little bit of moisture. We're going to skip the paper towels this time and straight to really great soil, so it's easier to transfer when the time is right, depending on how long winter lasts, which could be forever this year, but we're hopeful. So let's go on this journey together and get our hands dirty. Hello, friend. If you're ready to roll your sleeves up and get dirty, now's the time. Okay. Now, when you're doing any kind of seed starting activity, you're going to want to make sure things are labeled. Yes, it's fun to do chaotic gardening sometimes. However, it's a lot easier if you know what plant is growing, because a lot of plants look like each other in the early stages, from seedling to sprout, and even to their juvenile stage until later on when they start growing like the fruit or whatever. So by taking something like a fat Sharpie and some baggies and writing directly on them, that's how I'm going to make sure that I know what's growing in what bag. I went to one of my favorite places in the area, Ocean State Job Lots, and got everything I needed, which is wonderful for such reasonable pricing. I got knockoff sandwich bags because it's seed starting. It's not like I'm trying to save an expensive piece of meat. And I've labeled it ahead of time so as not to waste your time with you trying to, stay awake as I'm writing things out. Now that we have it labeled, we have our seeds ready. I'm going to open this seed starting mix from Perfect Landscape, who, no, they don't represent me, or I don't represent them yet, but I'd love to have them as a sponsor. So have your people call my people. And if you hear in the background, my people are Marmalade, the amazing. Find her on the Graham Cracker. She's my rescue puppy. It's a little bit thirsty. So this is great for seed starting. I have had great luck with it. What I've used in the past. Jiffy also makes it. I know Jiffy's like a baking tender. Their stuff is great too. But I highly recommend using a lighter soil for when starting seeds, because if it's too heavy and compact, you're going to make it really tough for the little plant to grow. Now's the time we get our hands dirty. You could use gardening gloves. I miss gardening so much because winter is here that I'm going to just bare hand grab dirt. The smell is amazing. I'm not going to put too much, just enough to fill the bottom. The really cool thing about this method, from my understanding based on what I've seen online, is that a little goes a long way. and it's so much easier for transplanting later on. So I've taken just this amount of dirt for one bag. I'm going to plop some seeds in a nice little row, understanding that at some point I'm going to have to thin them out, because unfortunately not every seed is a champion that's going to survive outside. So unless you have acres and acres of land and you're able to just kind of grow everything you want, if you, like me, only have a little bit of yard for gardening, you have to be very choosy in order to get all of the gorgeous plants out there. And these seeds are teeny tiny, microscopic, look like the dot at the end of a sentence. Okay, so I have just put in a fine line amount of these beautiful snapdragons from our friends at Burpee. Hey Burpee, I would also love to work for you if you want to call me. And I'm just going to put a little bit of water. You're going to want to make sure the soil is moist, but you also don't want to drown the seeds, because if you drown the seeds, and they're not aquatic plants, they're just going to rot, and you don't want them. Okay, so this is the perfect amount. You see the liquid is going to soak up. I'm going to smack it against the counter a few times, let it mix up, and then that's it. I'm going to put it in my container. I've seen people take skewers like this and hide or tuck in between two of their either, raised flower beds, vegetable beds, or elevated beds where there's enough room. They then skewer these through the bags and hang them up with a bunch of baggies per stick in between. But because they are protected from most of like the wind, animals, things like that, it's like having a nice little fortress for them. I'm going to do it in this way until I feel like it's warm enough for me to move stuff outside. Now you can be braver than me and just do the bags directly outside without putting them in a container first. That's up to you. But this is the first time I'm doing it. And it could be the first time we're doing it. So, safety first, a little bit of a baby over here. And I kind of want to hedge my bets and have more of a shot of having things grow. Anyway, okay. So I'm going to do multiple bags per item. You can get bigger ones. I didn't, they make those really cool ones that have like a flat bottom and are shorter. I couldn't find those. If I could, I would have gotten those. So I only did the sandwich ones. Snack bag isn't big enough, and I feel like quart and gallon are just kind of a waste of a bag. But that's just my humble, baggy opinion. The reason I'm doing multiple bags of the same seeds is just to see if one doesn't take, maybe the second one will, or maybe both of them will take and I'll be able to share them with my good friends or loved ones who don't have the opportunity to try to grow seeds inside first. I'm very fortunate with the situation and setup that I have, and a protected space outside to apply to this as well. So water's in, seeds going in. This will be the rest of these seeds. Now I'm going to do the thing where I mix it up by tapping it against the counter, let the seeds get tucked in, and put it together with the other one. And now we have a matching pair of that one type of seed. And then we shall continue. So on and so forth. Okay. Next up, I'm going to be growing poppies. Poppies are things that you can absolutely direct sow outside in the cold. In fact, I have seen that you can take them, make snowballs with the seeds in it, and just kind of toss it around the yard because they love cold stratification. That means they're the seeds that do the best with a cold temperature. It's really fascinating, and you continue to learn a lot when it comes to gardening in nature. Things that I had no idea. Snapdragons, we're going to do that too, because they also love cold weather, which is why we're going to take these guys outside. Another reason I'm putting in a container just between you and I, we have a delightful array of animals that come in and out from the woods that are close by, including a giant bunny. And bunnies are really cool, but they also are hungry. And can you imagine how tasty sprouts would be for a bunny who's been stuck eating like winter food? I get it. And I think bunnies are adorable, but I'm not here to have a bunny farm. Another way to try to save them from the deer, from the bunnies, from the fox, the little rodents, whatever. So these are poppies. The seeds are just a little bit bigger than the snapdragons. Not by much. It's almost like putting in poppy seeds, if poppy seeds were half their size. Put it in, doing the tap. Now, because I got a couple different varieties of these different types, I've labeled the word poppy, and then underneath, depending on what it is, I've added a second word. So these are the giant poppies. They're so, so good. Putting it in my container. I'm going to put a little bit more dirt in, and then that's going to be it. Just smelling the dirt, putting my hands in the dirt, just gives me such an uplift in mood on this gray, dreary day. After we had another day of snow that then turned into rain, as we keep having freezing temperatures. Being someone who prefers to be outside, this time of year is tough in our region for me. And, perhaps for you as well if you have the same way of reacting to dismal cold. Okay. That is the rest. I'm trying to carefully get all of them out. Because they're so teeny tiny, some of them will just absolutely stick, and I do ensure that I get every one. Every one with a chance of growing beautiful flowers. I would not waste the opportunity. It's also going to be fun to go through all of the seeds that I collected last year, including walking around people's gardens, that were against the sidewalk. I'm not trespassing. Now, when I saw things going to seed, I helped them out because that makes a huge mess. So I just took handfuls of seeds from here and there to add and elaborate to our garden. Last year was our first time having a garden in this new location. So it was really a big learning experience for how the sun hits, how much the sun hits, for how long and such. And now, going forward, I have a much better understanding as to you of my property. So, a little wiser every year. Still learning cold stratification. Awesome. Something else that's really cool. You might remember last summer, it took forever to get warm, right? Winter seemed to last forever, even though our friend Puxtani Bill said we were going to have spring, but the winter held on. So everything was kind of stunted growth-wise. Tomatoes didn't turn colors for a very long time. And then, after everything finally started blooming and doing well, and the ranunculus started coming up, we had an insane heat wave for a week that was over 100 degrees every day. And it killed a lot of things. You can't control stuff like that unless you have a giant indoor climate controlled warehouse or something, which you can just grow inside all the time. But that was not the case for me. I could not put my yard inside all of a sudden. So I lost a lot of things, including a lot of the ranunculus. They all fried, which was heartbreaking. But when I went out the other day, just to see how things were going, I was so happy to notice that there were sprouts. Never give up hope. Even though you might lose something for a season, don't give up that there's a shot it might come back next time. Always look for the little glimmers, because they are important and they are to remind you that sometimes things may not work out the way you want, but then will surprise you later. Fingers crossed, we have a better season this season, but if not, we understand we can't control nature. We can do our best, we can show up. I notice the seeds kind of clump to the middle, so I'm going to manually spread them out a little bit better, giving them their best chance. There we go. Ooh. If you don't feel like splurging and getting a giant clear container like this, which I got from Ocean State Job Lots for under $20, you can use other things to do this if you don't want to directly put out baggies, like one of these amazing salad containers that you get from the grocery store. My fiance is a sucker for these big containers, and he goes through, he has a salad a day. So I am a happy recipient of the container afterwards, in which I will be utilizing the heck out of all the recycling to do seed sorting once it gets closer to putting things outside for other things like tomatoes or lettuce. We could do right now, actually. You could totally fill this with some of the seed starting and just sprinkle the lettuce things and do succession planting and stuff. But these are awesome, and they end up being like a bonus thing because you're already getting these things with food in it. It might have chicken in it, I don't know. But save these because they're so useful upcycling for your own personal garden. You can't beat that. You can't beat free if you've already utilized it for whatever its purpose was. I digress, but we shall continue. Now, if you recall, if you saw the episode, if not, you could totally check it out. It lives on YouTube under the Sam Science World playlist, housed under the BCTV YouTube channel. Totally check it out. A lot of really cool programs on it, included. So with the sweet peas specifically, hey Burpee, you need to do two things in order to give them the best chance that they have. You need to take one of the seeds in a little clipper, and they're hard. The shells are super hard. So you need to make like a little nick in it. Just enough. Perfect. And you can see that just a little tiny bit is now exposed. So I'm going to be taking the baggie that I already labeled, the snipped sweet peas, and I'm going to put them in with just water because they need to soak. And I'm going to have them soak for at least an hour, and then I'm going to add the dirt after. So it's a little bit different than the other ones, than the poppies or the snapdragons, but it's really important to get those to grow. And I built a teepee out of sticks for these last time because some of the sweet peas grow very tall, up to like 12 feet. This year I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to do a frame method, either using sticks or pieces of wood and strings that are long enough to reach the baby sweet pea. And as they continue to grow, I will just continue pulling the rope and attaching it in a much more organized manner, because they're all going to have their own straight shots. Some sweet peas will branch off and you'll have to deal with that with untangling, but once the weather gets better, we'll work on that. But this way, I have more control over helping them grow. I am not a tall person, so making a sweet pea teepee was a really fun idea. But I can only reach so high. So once they started getting taller than me, it wasn't really feasible to continue bringing a ladder out without like falling into it and perhaps destroying the teepee. or the sweet pea fort, as I ended up calling it. But the smell and the colors of sweet peas are so incredible. I highly recommend it. They are easy to grow if you do the little snip, nick, and dip in water. And it's really fun to do with kids. Very kid friendly. Right, so let's keep snipping my little sweet peas. Obviously do it very carefully. You do not want to snip and nick yourself. That's not worth it. But this is one of the many ways that I try to combat winter depression, because and for those that love winter, I'm so happy for you. For everyone else, I know. Why are we not living in San Diego? There's so many reasons, but it's a wonderful place. Just as beautiful Berks County is a wonderful place. And there are cool things to do. Like, did you know through the park system, you could rent snowshoes and, take your kids on an adventure that they've never done before? Go explore nature with snowshoes. Really good exercise and a really great way to tuck young ones out. Cover them out, I should say. And just so cool. The park system has so many cool things. They have a program coming up where you can build a birdhouse, 2 birds or something. Super cute. And I feel like the cost is so... This one was, I think, $20, and really most of it just goes to the materials. And we just like such a little amount goes to the instructor, which I hope you all understand. Basically, the instructors are like volunteering their time and expertise to share something they love to do with you. With me right now. I think if I can find any snow left, even though it's rained and a little bit warmer today, I'm absolutely going to also try to do like a poppy snowball and just toss it and see as an experiment, like, will it work? Will the animals get it? Don't feel too bad for the animals, because a lot of people in our area, including me, have left things and let them go to seed in order to provide food for little birds, little animals, so that they won't starve. Marigold seeds, which I'm hoping will repopulate all over the garden, as well as the crepe seeds, which I didn't even know really that crepes did that, but they do. So after crepes, if you have them, beautiful flowering spring through summer bush, they eventually grow crepe berries. And it takes forever for them. But right now, like a couple weeks ago, I noticed that they finally turn into the seed husks and open up. And so there's seeds all over the ground, all over the snow. And all of the little birds were having such a great time. And I just felt really good to do my part, because circle of life and all that. Plus, seeing cute little birds makes me happy. Signs of life. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to add some water. And let these beauties soak. I don't know what kind of watering pitcher you have, but I really like this one because it has like a giant metal straw looking thing, which makes it super easy to control how much I put in. I'm going to add more, of course, but just so you guys aren't stuck watching me for 5 hours. They're literally going to be submerged for at least an hour, and then I'm going to add soil. I'm not going to dump out the water, I'll just add the soil. And hopefully watch the magic happen, and hopefully you will watch it with me. I'm going to bore you with watching me clip every single one of these sweet pea seeds that are now emerged, soaking in water. But I did want to pop back because it isn't just an hour that these soak. They should soak for the 24 hours leading up to you trying to start them. So these will soak directly in water for 24 hours. And then I will add the dirt and put them out in the sun, or, in the bright gray, delightful, wintry mix that we have going every day, which is why gardening needs to happen to bring in some of the joy. But I also wanted to share something super cute. Super awesome. Alicia gave me a really heartfelt Christmas present, knowing that I'm a huge gardener. I'm obsessed with this. I've never seen anything like it or had anything like it. And it's so fabulous because it has these little containers and all the seeds. It's all labeled and organized, and you know how much I love organization. And it has a little growing guide. And of course, they have different types of kits. But it's so fun, and it's awesome to see all the different types of seeds, which is really helpful if you're someone who collects seeds too, to be able to match if you have like a little baggie or a little envelope with seeds that you collected and you kind of forgot to label it. You're like, I'll remember that later. You're never gonna remember that. At least you can also look at this and try to match the seed to the type of thing it is. It might not be the exact item, but I think that's like super helpful. Anyway, I love it. I'm super excited, and I know it's winter, so I'm just gonna start doing a little bit of the starting, and I'm going to do lettuce, because lettuce you can grow all year, but I'm going to utilize that great piece of recycling that I showed you before, and I'm gonna put some dirt in it. I'm gonna moisten the soil, and then I'm going to sprinkle lettuce, because that you can grow all the time as long as you have a good sunny spot or some indoor grow lights or whatever. And since we're big salad people over here, it just makes sense. Plus, it just brings me so much joy to grow things and to bring new life in a dreary winter situation. But anyway, remember, sweet peas, snip it, give it a little opening because the shell is super hard. Let it soak in water for 24 hours, and then take your beautiful sweet peas and add soil to them. Put this in a windowsill or put it directly outside, which is what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to take you on that journey with me. Anyway, just a little update. I hope all of your gardening dreams come true. Oh, right. Hey, just a little thirsty. Just topping it off a little bit. Thank you so much for joining me on this all new episode of Sam Slane's World. I'm your host, Samantha Bremekamp, and I hope that I have inspired you to get out of your winter funk, if you're like me and get depressed this time of year, and to get your hands dirty in some delicious smelling and delightful feeling soil, to do some seed starting inside or outside, depending on what you feel like doing or your space situation. It's really easy to do with kids, with elders, or just with yourself, to give you something fun to look forward to and to check on every day. All you need are a couple baggies, some decent soil, and some seeds, and a dream, and a hope, and a little bit of patience and determination, and a sip of water. I look forward to seeing you next Friday, right here, 9 p.m. on BCTV.